Conservative leader Erin O'Toole facing a revolt from within his own caucus and an upcoming vote that could determine his political fate. Nearly a third of Conservative MPs have signed a letter calling for a leadership review. That's enough to trigger a secret ballot vote expected tomorrow, Wednesday. If a simple majority of Conservative MPs go against him, O'Toole will be forced to step down and make way for an interim party leader. He says he's not giving up without a fight. We'll get to the statement that he issued late last night, but there's Janice McGregor in Ottawa with the details of the story and the revolt, who is behind it, who is involved in it, and why it's happening now.
Let's be frank, Heather. Some people close to Erin O'Toole believe that he should have actually called this vote himself months ago to prevent other people from seizing the agenda here. But what was a lot of backroom grumbling is now official, is now public. This letter worth 35 Conservative MP signatures on it, delivered to caucus chair Scott Reid, looking for that secret ballot vote on Wednesday. It would be interesting to see. We are supposed to have that letter released to the public, the exact wording of their call for this putting of the leader's position in question. Interesting to see their precise rationale. Of course, they had a very difficult caucus meeting last week, going over the postmortem from their election loss last fall. In the aftermath of that, it did become apparent that there had been a push underway, I understand, for weeks to gather these signatures. And after the Globe and Mail first went with the story last night, you could kind of see on Twitter some pretty calculated statements. The first one out there from Calgary MP Bob Benson. Now, why is he interesting? Well, he had supported Erin O'Toole in past leadership races, but now he was sharing a laundry list, really, of things he felt had gone wrong, instances of what he portrayed as flip-flops and questionable judgment. He said it was time to now start looking at the leader critically based on his performance and saying the party has given O'Toole more than enough chances to have a course correction here. And then later in the evening, after O'Toole's office, began suggesting that Garnet Genuis, who is an Edmonton area MP, was actually the organizer of this push. Genuis took to Twitter to deny that he was, but to admit that he is one of the 35 signatories. And he said that this group, shouldn't be portrayed as just a single issue faction of social conservatives or people with an axe to grind. They do represent, he said, a broad section of opinion in the party. And he called on O'Toole to realize that his position is untenable. But is it really? Because there is another faction in the party that also wrote to the caucus chair asking for this question to be put to a vote so it could be settled. In their case, they wanted it called because they believe there are enough MPs in this caucus for O'Toole to win the vote, to stay on as leader, at least until the grassroots have their chance to have their say at the party's convention, which isn't until August of 2023. We know different riding associations are starting to weigh in with leadership concerns, but there's some feeling that it should be that process that decides this, not a revolt inside caucus. So which of these factions has a better read on the true hearts and minds of Conservative MPs? We're going to find out tomorrow when the vote is called.
There must be lots of phone calls going back and forth at this point, Janice. One would imagine as everyone proceeds in this situation ahead of that vote expected tomorrow. Erin O'Toole himself releasing a long statement on social media last night. What is he saying about this so far?
Yeah, very interesting, right? Because presumably the two sides have their lists as they try and figure out how this vote's going to go. But a pretty confident statement from Erin O'Toole last night, whatever you want to read into that. He portrayed the party as looking at two roads, and he has laid out this choice before. The fact that on the one hand, they could choose a path that he said would be angry, negative, extreme, a dead end. Or on the other hand, they could choose a path that would be more representative of Canada in 2022, he said, and recognize that conservatism now needs to be what he called organic, not static. This is a pitch he has made to the party before. O'Toole insisted he's not going anywhere. He's not turning back, but he agreed that it is time for a reckoning. And he said he would abide by the results of this vote. And he reminded the signatories and suggested that they'll need to as well.
Janice, thank you very much. Janice McGregor from Ottawa.